Hello, it's Book Club Tuesdays. Welcome and hello, Arthie. Wait, okay, so listen, let me do it properly because every single time I see you, you've got a new title. So now it is Dr. Arthie Moore-Robberts. Congratulations and welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be with you again. I've been missing you.
Well, I know what to do about that. I can send you a roadmap.
I'll be there. Road trip. Yay.
Excellent. Okay, in the meantime, let's talk about this book of ours. You see, because I'm really proud of the book
Mm,
and of everybody who's contributed and the work that everybody's done because, you
mm,
know, the title is From Trauma to Triumph. And not everybody had the same traumas, but everybody had the same triumph.
mm,
How to overcome it. And not everybody had the same road, but everybody have told their story with so much honesty and vulnerability and truthfulness and shared every single thing that they could think of it is the most helpful to help people out of trauma and into their own personal triumph. And I'm the lucky one who gets to read all of these, and I get to choose what we're going to talk about from all the amazing material that's in the book. So I am so happy that this is what you wrote, Afi, because this this is one of the premier things we do when we are in trauma, when we've grown up with trauma, because we've got this belief system. The facade of self-protection that was your invisibility cloak for so long needs to be destroyed. I love those words. They must be celebrated. They must be repeated. And I think we must explain to people what you mean. Okay, so go.
Well, I
Stage
thought
is yours.
I was looking at, we always talk about facades and we talk about all the layers and the rose-colored glasses and the way we look at people, the way we interact. It's there's always either it's black and white. We've already made up our minds of whether we're going to enjoy an experience or we won't. So there's always anticipation. And I thought, how can I best describe what that facade is? And I thought the invisibility cloak. And the reason being is that we don't even realize we've created these layers of protection over ourselves. And it's based on our real, true experiences. It's based on how we felt in the moment. It's based on our actual emotions. It's based on our beliefs and our perspectives. It's also based on the way people treated us. And I think that the way that we're wired as human beings is that we take in all of people's energies and their words and their actions and even their tone and whether it was good or bad, we will receive it in a specific way. And somewhere along the line, our subconscious mindset starts to create for us a way to protect ourselves. So if you look at a cloak, it's normally something that will comfort us, envelop us, it will keep us safe. And when you look at a cloak, it's not like a jacket. Jacket is something that is designer wear. It keeps us warm, it makes us look good. The cloak, though, for me, felt like something that it's unusual. It's not something that we normally would have. And when we look at an invisibility cloak, we always think of it as something magical. But then the magic of it for us, when I'm looking at from my point of view, where we're looking at trauma, we create this invisibility cloak around ourselves as a protection mechanism because it allows us to then create the layers that shows us that the world cannot touch us. And in those moments, unfortunately, this protective cloak actually prevents us from experiencing life because we don't even realize we've been building this up all the time. And so when we interact with people, we go out and we socialize, or when we even prevent ourselves, self-rejection, when we prevent ourselves from having experiences, we base it on our thoughts and what we think might happen. And that's all going back into the ingrained hurts, the ingrained belief systems, and everything else around. And we start to bully ourselves from the inside. I thought, now what a beautiful way it would be to describe to people that once you raise your awareness of this cloak that is invisible to you, that you created in your mind's eye, and something that you wrapped around yourself as your safety bubble. The second you start to peel away those layers, you start to allow your true self to emerge. But that takes work and it takes a lot of courage. And I thought, it is something that allows us to see that whilst we use this cloak, we do not allow people to see our true nature. So we only allow them to see what we want them to see. And then we do not understand why people actually react or respond to us in a specific way, why we attract the people that we do, why we're constantly having the same kind of conversations, same situations, and it's just a repetition of the cycle. And the only way to break it is to let go of that invisibility cloak that's been protecting you for so long, and it's in your mindset. And if we can actually look at it from that point of view, we're one step ahead towards healing what is inside of us and allow ourselves to blossom.
Yeah, that's awesome, Arthie. This putting it like that, invisibility cloak,
Mm.
for a lot of people, it's an automatic thing that
Mm.
some people become so used to being what other people want them to be
Yeah.
that they don't actually understand that the real me is hidden underneath that cloak. It can become such a way of life to live according to other people's expectations of us, other
Mm.
people's likes, other people's dislikes, other people's opinions, that we
Mhm.
continuously scan and adapt to whatever we think the world wants from us. And we don't actually even know, a lot of time we don't know who's inside. And it is something that I find from a lot of my clients when they start to do this inner healing work and they start shedding those layers.
Mm.
A very big part of what needs to be done is to find out, who am I really?
Mm.
Because I've become invisible to myself. I have focused so much on what my parents or a spouse or somebody else wanted from me, or what I perceived the world needed for me in order to be acceptable, that I don't know who I am. Did you ever
You
go
know,
through a phase like that where you had to drill down to who you really are?
do you know, I actually had to, it's a massive, long, painful journey to get to the point of knowing my own truth. I had to peel away a lot of layers, and I'm still on that journey. It's, every single day I'm discovering something new and intriguing about myself. And I always say to people, I fascinate myself. And I get fascinated by the things that I do, and I get fascinated by the things that I say and the things that I achieve, because it never occurred to me that, as motivational speakers will say to us, you are filled with unlimited possibility. Nobody explained what they meant by that. And I think that by discovering myself and my own truth is allowing me to then discover different aspects that I didn't realize was possible. So when people say I am possible, the depth of it is so much more beautiful and so much more meaningful. But it takes time, it takes work, and there's a lot of energy healing that goes into this, because I feel that there are triggers that happen along the way in everyday life. So I'm very realistic. I don't lie to myself and say that every day is going to be absolutely fantastic. What I do is I set my day intentionally to have a fantastic day. And when something happens that I feel triggered, I always write it down and then work out, why did I feel that way? What happened? And when did I feel this last? Where did it come from? Where did it stem from? So that means that I'm constantly aware of the inner work that I've got to do. And so by me documenting that, I'm then able to find out what is true for me. Is the way I was about to react true because that that was the response that was needed or demanded in that moment, or was I reacting to an old fear, a phobia, a trauma, or something that had happened in my life, and I was about to now recreate that in that moment, and then it just becomes a continuous same cycle of behaving the same way that I always did. And so for me, somebody actually said to me, you're too tough on yourself and you're very hard on yourself. And I said, why not? I said, I'm not hard on myself in a way that I get burnout like people, or I overwhelm myself or feel stressed. I don't have any of those challenges. Where I'm hard on myself is that I am blatantly honest and truthful in that moment. I would actually say that was unacceptable from what I just did or what I said. And I'm sorry, I react in this way. And then I explain why. And I make sure that I always go back to the conversation and I will explain what happened, why I reacted that way, where it came from, so that I will have a meaningful relationship going forward. And then people realize that's my truth. That was something that was real for me. And because I actually packaged it in a way that I could understand, only then could I explain it in a way that people could receive from me. Whether they understood it or not is that was not the intention. It was for them
Oh,
to realize that was my truth.
yeah, but that's not being hard on yourself. But people who haven't done this journey and haven't done this healing work of being
Mm,
aware and neutralizing the triggers do not know. I mean, you're speaking literally a foreign language if you speak like that, because what it really is not hard on yourself. It is mindful awareness and being present in your own life
mm,
by taking responsibility, that for which
mm,
you are responsible, and you are responsible for
yeah,
all your overreactions. And they are our biggest teachers. They are the ones who show us where have we not paid attention to some part of our journey. Avi, excuse me for a minute. I need to just please interrupt you and just do a short little intro and tell people where they can go and get your story from. Because we're not going to spend a lot of time tonight about your story. If anything comes out, then it's fine. But we have talked about this extensively. So if you look on my profile on media under videos, and you go back a few months, 6 months, a year, and maybe a year, there's two videos in there that we've done, right? And in both of them, you have been completely vulnerable and very brave, and you shared your story. And you have, even in this year, grown so much to new healing and new growth and new experiences. And one of those new experiences is being in a relationship which is committed and which always triggers the hell out of us. And we had to keep on growing when we're in a new relationship. Keep on growing because it's such a teacher to us. So, but your story is still your story. And so anybody who wants to go there and listen to your whole story, both of the conversations that we've had on Facebook and YouTube, they are powerful and they are very inspiring. And so I'm not going to repeat the story of your abuse, of you being pushed out of your family and blamed and judged, and all the self-judgment that you had on you. People can read that in a book also. They can go and watch that. What we do is tonight is we are sharing the lessons that we've learned so that other people can see we can come from being completely at a loss, young, small, very traumatized, and by some grace find a place to start working on ourselves. But we are never that powerless that we can't start. Okay, let's go back to the invisibility cloak, because I'm not ready to walk away from it. There's too much.
okay.
Okay, so this invisibility cloak that we put on, it is really self-protection in the end.
Mm,
And there's another reason why we need it, and it is because a lot of times when we grow up with deep trauma, we have a belief. It's sometimes nearly hidden from us, but we know it. That we know that sooner or later we're going to be found out. Now, if we put words to it, it sounds like I am I'm not an acceptable human being. There's something about me that's completely wrong and off. And I don't fit in, and I'm not like the rest of the world. That's the nearest I can get to those words, of which is a near universal feeling for 70 to 80% of the world. You just have to take that into account, because that's the amount of people who are walking around with their own trauma and with generational trauma, who end up not feeling acceptable inside. And then we actually wish to be a little bit invisible, or we can be like the biggest extrovert, but we are distracting people from seeing who we really are. Or if we are introvert, we are happily introverted, and we can blame everything on introverted. But what it really is inside us, I'm hiding myself because I don't want to be judged. No, I don't want anybody to see who I really am, this rotten mess inside.
You know, there's so much truth in what you've just said now. And if you look at the simplicity of it, the one thing that people want to have in this world, more than anything, more than the loving families and material wealth and all of the stuff that comes with the brilliance of being human, is to feel seen. Every single one of us want to feel seen and to feel like we exist, not just by the person that loves us or the people that we love, but by everybody. So whether it's the work environment where people acknowledge you and give you credit when it is due, whether it is in meetings when people say well done and congratulate you, whether it is with families saying let us celebrate what you've achieved because we know and understand how much you've worked with us. Every single person wants to feel seen. And when you look at romantic relationships and you look at the brilliance of and the beauty that we could have within exploring a relationship on that level of I wish to be seen, you then explore why you want to be seen. What aspect, what part of you is begging to be seen? Because we only show off our physical self, and we only allow people to see what we want them to see. And then we cannot understand why they do not interact with us or give us the love, the care, the compassion, the kindness, the understanding, the thoughtfulness, the empathy we crave in our need to be seen. Because our invisibility cloak has been so cleverly designed that when we show up in the world, we do not show up in the world based on our truth. We show up as we want people to see us, and yet we crave at a deeper level to feel seen. And the thing to feel seen is about us wanting to feel valued for our humanness, valued for our experiences, for who we are and what we bring to this earth. And then you take it one step further, and then you ask yourself, what is my purpose in life? And you start to question yourself, well, if they don't care and they don't see me, what is the whole point of me being here? I'm not worth it. I don't feel worthy then. And in that, I don't feel worthy becomes a self-bullying moment. And in that self-bullying moment, we then start to redesign more things on our invisibility cloak. This is the reason why they don't acknowledge me. They don't make me feel loved. They don't give me what I want. I am not happy because they are the cause. They are the reason. And that all then becomes like a domino effect of blaming. Now, at what point did we create self-awareness? And as you rightfully said, I'm not being hard on myself. I just have a very, very, very intense awareness, a heightened sense of awareness that I need to be resonating at a higher level at all times. And to do that, I've got to be mindfully aware, not painfully aware, mindfully aware at every step of what it is that I want to achieve, and then be intentional in how I actually create the environment to be conducive to that growth, not just for myself, but for people around me. Which means that all of these beautiful designs that I've been putting on this invisibility cloak, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I don't feel fulfilled, I have no purpose, I don't know where I'm heading in life, all the I don't knows, and then the because, it's because of, all of those sentences start to show us in our minds where we have started to create the excuses that prevented us from seeing the reasons, that prevents us from seeing the outcomes, that prevents us from having the healing and the beautiful, clear, peaceful, joyful life we deserve. And so everything keeps going back to that. Because whilst we look outside at others, it deflects our ability to look at ourselves in the mirror, because that is the part that scares us the most. Is to see the reality of who we are is the most scariest thing human beings can have. And it takes a very brave soul to look into their mirror, take off that invisibility cloak, and say, I am here. And to be able to say, I am here in all of my nakedness. I am here. To say those words means that I have to accept me first before the world can accept what I bring to it.
Yeah, it's totally true. We cannot expect of anybody to accept us if we don't show our real, true self
Mhm.
to the world. And until we are willing to do that, and until we are willing to accept all of us as completely, totally awesome, meant to be, how it is, all the parts we don't like, the knobbly toes and the over passionate involvement in everything, all of that makes us being the only person I can be. And it's
Exactly.
awesome when it's right. And until we embrace all of what we are and accept this is who I am.
Mhm.
I'm not, and I need to explain this is not, it doesn't mean accept being lazy, like I'm lazy. You know what? That is not who you are. That's a habit or a limiting belief. It is not who you are. And saying I accept all of me doesn't mean I'm going to get lazier. In fact, the opposite. The more you like yourself, the more energy you have, the more you want to do for yourself, the more you want to treat yourself well. So you don't have to whip yourself into obedience by being harsh on yourself. You can love yourself into the best version of you can ever be. And that self-acceptance, when you start seeing yourself, you can show up and you can show the other people around you. You can show the whole world who you are when you stop judging yourself. Because then
Exactly.
nobody else's opinion matters anyways. When you love yourself,
Mhm.
there's no more powerful force in the world. That's when fear of rejection goes away. It's a tiny switch to make, but it looks like a
Mhm.
mountain. It's not impossible to do. Let me go to a few comments here. Let's see. Hi, Jan. Nice to see you, Jan. It's easy to live life as we think others would like us to live, then forget who we really are. Yeah, it's true. Always nice to see you, Jan. So, Alfie, if we say to people, like, this is the answer, self acceptance is the answer, to get yourself out from that invisibility cloak, what would you say is your biggest tip to somebody who says, I'm just not an acceptable person? Somebody who's very harsh on themselves. What are you going to say? Where should somebody start?
Well, I think that's a very beautiful question, actually. Because to get somebody to realize that they need to let go of that belief takes time and healing. Because first they're going to have to make the decision that they deserve. And in order for somebody to realize that they deserve, they need to be made painfully aware of why they don't feel like that. And you see, I feel that it's not a one size fits all for self-acceptance. For some people, it takes a long time. For some people, it's merely a decision away. But for many, it takes unraveling of their belief systems and their hurts that cause them to get to that point of not understanding their worthiness or what they are worth having in their lives. And I think that for me personally, it took a lot of triggers, not the harsh triggers, not the negative triggers. It took triggers of sayings and things that people said to me that was positive, and I held on to it. And so when people talk about affirmations and they talk about mind power, for me, that was the most difficult journey to go through, because I had to look at my self-limiting beliefs and acknowledge it first. So in order to accept, I had to now unlearn all the things that I've learned in order to relearn a new state of behavior, a new state of being. And I felt that self-acceptance took me a long time to get to that stage. But it was small baby steps. And what I did was I acknowledged those baby steps and celebrated it. And for somebody who's going through that right now and they feel that the world is just too overwhelming for them and they're in this dark space, and people are always saying there's always light around you and there's light within you. And I love this saying, but the reality is that when you're in those moments, you can't see it. And for me, that is the true nature of being human. It's okay. And if you can just say in that moment, it's okay that I'm feeling this way. But what you do is you make a decision to write down why you're feeling that way and start to look at it and explore it. And instead of going deeper and deeper into that sadness or that darkness, what you do is you create what makes sense to you to be the light. Is it something that is motivational? Is it somebody that you can speak to? Is it a person who's professional in guiding and supporting you? Who is your best friend? Who is what type of WhatsApp group can you go to within moments and know that this is the healing space that you can be a part of? You don't have to engage, but as you take in all of those words of wisdom, thoughtfulness, and kindness, you allow that into you. And I think that's the biggest thing of self-acceptance is we need to allow ourselves to heal by making the decision that we deserve it. And I think that's very important for all of us as human beings, because we can go through life continuously saying, I'm depressed and I'm angry and I'm in a dark space. Okay, that's step number one. You've acknowledged what you're feeling. Now go and look at why. What can you do about it? And then make a decision that is intentional and say, I want to create a different version, a better version, a more powerful version of what I can have, be, want, deserve, and create in my life. And I think that just that switch, you said it just now, it can be such a small switch, but such a mountain when you're looking at it from the wrong perspective. And in that switch, you're making a decision of, I would like to have a different life. I would like to get up feeling happy. I would like to. And when you start to write down what you like to have, you start to create and manifest it, because your energy begins to change. And in those small moments, you don't suffocate it because you don't believe that you deserve it, because it's so easy to suffocate that happiness, because you could get triggered by it of, oh, I don't deserve this because I'm not worthy of receiving.
Mm.
So that acceptance and that receiving is where you give yourself full permission to allow that into your life. I think that might be a better way to actually address that one from my point of view.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically what I do every day with all of my clients and everybody in my
Exactly.
group. But, you know, it's like, it's what you said, we all crave the affirmation from other people, from the workplace, from our families. And it's a trap that many of us fall into, that we believe that if we do enough to make people outside us like ourselves get that
Mm,
affirmation, we believe that will be enough. And it will never be enough, because what happens is we just get more and more driven. We go more and more for the external self esteem, the external validation, because we don't know how to give it to ourselves. We
mm,
tire ourselves out to a point of burnout, because it becomes our fuel. It's not supposed to become our fuel. We are supposed to give that affirmation to ourselves.
mm,
Big parts of it. You know, for me, there are two tools that are very useful. They're quite easy to do. The one is to, to say to yourself, I am not willing to feel crappy all the time anymore. I'm not willing to feel bad in these
mm,
situations. I will try something different now. It's like a refusal to go there and to look for the other side. Like, that's for me the shortcut to feeling better about
mm,
yourself. Just a refusal to keep on doing what you've done in the past, and a refusal to to keep on believing bad things about yourself. It's easier to refuse
mm,
it than to just start feeling, I
mm.
feel happy, I love myself, that's a bit
Exactly.
iffy. It's much easier to be determined and to say, I refuse to talk to
Mm,
myself like that. I refuse to be that harsh on myself. I will find different language for myself. I will treat myself like my own best friend. I will do those things. Because when you do things differently, the rest follow. Other one is a very powerful question, and that is, through whose eyes are you looking at yourself? I mean, you know for yourself. When you used to judge yourself,
mm.
through whose eyes were you looking at yourself?
Through
Whose
everybody
voice?
else's except mine.
Exactly. Whose words
Right?
were in your ears? What
Yeah.
what is it that you started believing about what other people were saying to
Mm,
you, about you, and not about you, and not to you? Not, you are lovable and acceptable, and I enjoy having you around me. When people don't say those kind of things, we also make judgments on ourselves. So that's a shortcut question. Through whose eyes are you looking at yourself? That's a powerful one.
it is.
Okay.
And I think that when you look at your life's experiences, we grew up being taught to look through the eyes of society, not just our experiences. Now, this is greater than us. We were taught to look through the eyes of society, through culture, through religion, through tradition, through upbringing, through the family that we interact with, through the food that we eat, the language that we speak, the school that we go to, the community we are surrounded with, the country we live in. We're constantly judging ourselves through the eyes of what we were taught growing up. So, at what point do people actually say, explore the reality of who you are and show me the truth that lies within? Because that's deep and that
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot of strength and a lot of introspection and self reflection to even get to that point. When you ask, whose eyes do I look at myself through? I began by looking at through what my parents taught me, then my experiences, then my traumas, then the people around me, my education system, where I grew up, the things that I did, the places that I traveled to. And that is why when I have to look in the mirror, I have to look at it with my own eyes. And then I want to know, what am I looking at? Do I enjoy what I see? Do I enjoy what I've become molded into, allowed myself to believe so much that I also created a mold for myself? And that invisibility cloak was not created by ourselves. It was created and helped by many people to create that. And I think that that's self-discovery. Your question, powerful, because that means I've got a lot more work to do. Through whose eyes do I look at myself? I mean
Yeah.
that's a stunning one. I actually need to reflect on that myself.
Yeah, I think everybody needs to. You know, I'll share a tiny little anecdote of recently I've worked with a very special couple and they were not excited about Christmas. And I said, are you guys doing Christmas the way that you guys want to? Have you got your own family tradition? And the light went on. No, we have never, for us as a couple, as a family, figured out how we want to spend Christmas.
Mm.
And that permission that you give to yourself makes makes the magic appear. And so that's such a small thing, but how many of us do that? How many of us live our entire life according to what other people want from us, expect of us? We don't stop for a minute and ask, what do I really want? Because we are,
Mm.
that invisibility cloak hides who we are even from ourselves. We have to wake up and examine every belief we have. And we have to say, is this working for me or not? It can be as simple as Christmas is actually not working for me. Let's find something that works for me.
And
Monica?
that's a funny anecdote that you've just brought up, because that was a lesson I had to unlearn in this last week.
Mm. Mm.
Myself,
Really?
personally, for the first time in how many, 40 odd years of always being there for everybody. And I can explain that to my closest friends and to Jan. I said, for this year, I would like to not do Christmas the way it's always done, where I'm always the one who creates, the one who invites, the one who serves, the one who who has this. I love Christmas. I love everything about it. But the magic of it for me is watching people's eyes light up, right? But the thing is that I developed in the way that I needed to get affirmation.
Mm.
That was by serving everybody and creating the experience for everybody. And I thought about it quite a lot in the last couple of months. And I realized what I wanted was to be in the receiving end of that. Because I'd
Mm.
always been giving for so much for so long. Never occurred to me what was the reality of what I was looking for in all of those experiences. And I realized in a couple of weeks before that, I wanted to be on the receiving end, somebody else creating magic, and where I did nothing except arrived. And we had stunning friends, Gunther and Debbie Wallendorf, who actually created, they went out of their way and created that for me, because I explained. I explained myself and explained my reasoning behind it. And they never even thought twice. They just invited us and they hosted us for an entire weekend of awesomeness and thoughtfulness. And every single thing was so beautiful and so incredible. And I had so much gratitude for this weekend alone, because it showed me that it wasn't anybody else's fault that they got used to coming to my home. It wasn't, and I could not use the excuse that people felt entitled, because I created that. So if I created that, it was always my responsibility to look at what did I need to do differently and explain myself correctly, of what I would like to have differently from now on, because I had a deeper realization for myself. So, I mean, for you to say that is incredible, because that's exactly the experience I've never had, always wanted and craved, and it was fulfilled by friends this weekend.
Yeah, it's so true, Alfie, because you have to notice it and then you have to ask. I had to do that in my
Exactly.
marriage because I was always the one supporting everybody else. And it
Yeah.
took having pneumonia that I actually couldn't get out of bed for me
Mm.
to let go of the reins completely, just like I cannot. And and to see and to see that, you know what, somebody will pick them up. But look, I know what you do. You make everybody that you invite feel like you have created all this magic especially for that person.
Mhm.
So yes, yeah. So it's good that you did this for yourself. It's a great thing to do that for yourself. But the most important thing to notice is this: we are in a pattern, a long-standing pattern for the wrong reasons. I want that affirmation, but you really get the affirmation when you ask and somebody else do it for you, and you can go like, "Oh, I'm worth it after all." We can't think ourselves right. We have to do things differently. Once we do things differently and we start applying the lesson of a moment in our head, I am worth going to these people and letting them spoil me and treat me like the worthy person I am. There, you've changed your whole DNA structure. You change who comes after you by you having that experience. It's awesome. I love it. Let's see what Jan has to say. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to send Jan this StreamYard link. Jan, tonight you're going to join us. You're going to crash this party. I remember a summit not long ago where we let Alfie crash your party. So I'm going to send you a link. Okay. Look at this. I should really let you crash this. You are a good assistant. Thanks. Yes. If you have a link, Jan, if you do have a link, otherwise I'll go and find it also. Oh, yeah. We need to accept ourselves before we can accept others. So very true. Right. Make a decision to write down how you feel. Yes, that's excellent. Don't you agree? Why you feel that way, and find ways and places to heal yourself. It's interesting, isn't it, that when you become ready, but the teacher and the situation always shows up.
Always.
Acknowledge how you feel, then make a decision to see what you can do about it. Look, Jan, if I can convince you to commit to that book, then me and you will have this conversation too. Hey, what do I have to do? I don't even know what to do anymore. We all crave affirmation. And then we can have this steady conversation. How's that? Most people do Christmas for others. Yes, it's true. Just as many live a life. Yeah, absolutely. We can end up living one entire life for other people, whether it is for people that brought us up or whether it is the people that we want to please in our life later on. Shout out to Debbie and Gunther. What did happen to that one now? Nice. You lucky people. Yes. Know that story. Thanks, Jan. Appreciate that. Did you put that in? Oh, that's our book.
I found the link quickly.
Oh, that's our book. Who would he be talking about? Jan?
Welcome back.
Okay, so there's our book. That's our book. And let me see. Let me go back there. Let me go there. See if I have an image of our book. There's our book. There's our book. Come on. Why is it not showing? There we go. That's our book. There's our link. Wait, let me do that again. That was too fast. From Trauma to Thrive. And number one new release today. Thank you very much for telling all your amazing friends. And there we go. Let me take that off. Okay. Wow. Okay. As usual.
The number one release. Come on, that is something to celebrate, right?
Yeah.
That is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I know this book is going to go to bestseller. I know this. I know this. Not even holding funds. I know this is going to go to bestseller soon. And so we'll tell everybody. Last week I said I'm going to drop the price. The price is dropped. Okay, people. Last week I said don't buy. This week I say you can now go buy. You cannot get it immediately, but you can pre-order for the end of January. You can pre-order now, and you can have your copy arrive in your own mailbox. And if you are in South Africa, you'll be able to order the paperback from me also, but not end of January, a little bit later, end of February or March. The paperback will be available too. But I know you're not going to want to wait that long. Okay, Arthie, so when we talk about that cloak of invisibility
Mm.
and stepping into our real selves, I think that's our main message, that really showing the world who we are inside, allowing people into our lives, because that's the other thing we do. We don't
Mm.
allow people into our lives. When we talk about allowing people into our lives, let's 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 give something practical to people, so that everybody can walk out of here and say, I've got one tiny little thing that I can go and do to let people into my life. Because once we
Mm.
start allowing people into our lives, we start to attract our real tribe. And you are
Mm.
one of the best connectors of people that I have ever seen. But you're just such a natural with it. And you've got an enormous um, natural warmth. But you were not like this always. I have to tell this to people. You were a rebel and a fighter. And you were a tough cookie. And people couldn't get to you that easily. You are the best person. Oh, okay, I was the same too. Prickly pear. Serious prickly pear. With such a lot of self-protective measurements around me. I don't even know who that chick was. What is the first thing that you would say to people if they want to start allowing people into their life? What is one tiny thing they can do?
I think compassion for self is a big one. Compassion for self, because that opens up so much. It opens up understanding. It opens up a gentleness. It opens up our thoughtfulness towards ourselves. It opens up the way we communicate to ourselves, our self-talk, the self-belief, our confidence, our self-esteem. Everything goes back to compassion. And somebody once asked me, what is the difference between empathy and compassion? And I said, empathy is the emotion you feel for somebody. Compassion is a thing you do to show your empathy.
Mm.
And so if compassion is the action and empathy is the emotion, and you combine the two, you need to actually work out what part of you is crying desperately, and for what is it crying for, and why. And when you have empathy for your journey, you can then use compassion in your actions that allows you to guide yourself and create a compass for the destination that you deserve. And you realize that every step of your journey, which is a journey of self-discovery, right? There's going to be bumps. There's going to be things that will prevent you from moving forward. There's going to be blocks. There's going to be the naysayers and the people that will throw things and obstacles at you. But I think understanding that the reality of what they see you as has got nothing to do with the reality of who you really are. And until you become powerfully entrenched in your belief in who you are, you will always still keep pandering to other people's wants and their needs and their desires. And so compassion for me is going to be the key, because that is the one thing that allowed me to move from strong, rebel, intense personality to a semblance of gentleness,
Mm.
and allowing myself to embrace a feminine energy that no longer protects me. It allows me to feel. And for me, that was a massive one. And I use compassion for myself and for my journey to do that.
Because where there's compassion, there can't be shame. And shame is what makes us hide inside. Now, I'm a big fan of giving people homework. And I like giving people easy to do homework. So I'm going to give everybody who struggles with this some easy to do homework. I seriously love homework, okay? And this one is easy. It is talk to as many people as you can. Talk to strangers. You don't have to tell them your life history, but just talk to strangers, because I want you to remember this. When you see 10 people in front of you, 8 of that 10 people at least feels the same way inside that you do. And you forgetting about your own imperfections for a change and reaching out to one other person helps you to get out of your own head with compassion for somebody else. And when you start that habit, you break the habit of pulling back. You start the habit of reaching out. Just remember this little trick. Out in a room, 8 out of 10 people at least feel the same way you do. We are damn good about hiding it from everybody else. We've got these cloaks, right? And we show, like you say, what we want to show. So people aren't going to pick up on it. You just reach out to another person. You be the light in somebody's day, and you will get out of a habit to keep yourself back all the time. Tiny little step to get yourself out of a habit of pulling back. Okay, so let's see. Is Jan still there? Of course Jan's still there. Right? Never let the opinion of people become your reality. Yes, remember. 8 out of 10 people are hurt anyway, see. And other people's opinion is not important. Yeah, absolutely. On the same page here. Right. Now, if we carry on one more minute, I'm going to invite you in. Next time I'm sending you a link before the time, and we make sure that you come and join us. How would that be? That would be awesome, don't you think, Arthie?
Oh, absolutely. I love having him alongside me. He's brilliant.
Yeah. Next time we do another conversation with all 3 of us.
Absolutely.
Okay, that would be awesome. Right. Arthie, thank you for coming. Everybody who's watched, everybody who will be watching in the coming days, we love it when you come and you watch the rerun. And please share it to everybody else that you know. Tell them about this. This is a powerful conversation. A lot of people need this. It is like such a basic starting point, don't you think, Arthie? For a lot of people, this is like real stuff, real something actionable that somebody can start with right here.
Absolutely. I think, and it's great. And, getting the book, we've only touched on one baby aspect of one of the sentences, and we were able to speak for so long. So can you imagine the depth and the brilliance and the sharing and the thoughtfulness of all of the other co-authors in this book and what they have opened up and openly shared and gave of themselves? And when you said embrace other people so that they can start to embrace you as well, you're getting to understand that by reading the stories in these books, it's meant to not just be a nice piece to read. It's there to enlighten you and to stretch your thinking and to stimulate your thinking to the possibilities of what you deserve. And that's what I love about it. And all of the other ladies that contributed to it have done phenomenally in sharing their do's, their don'ts, their tools, their techniques, their points of inspiration, their lessons learned. And it's such a beautifully structured book that I loved even contributing to it because it stimulated my thinking and also actually added so much value to the continuous development that I have for myself. So it's been a pleasure and an absolute privilege to be part of this book because I know it's going to heal a lot of people. And for people who are listening to this, gift somebody this book. Give this as a gift. If you are a company and you're an HR or you're the CEO of a company, gift this to every single one, men and women, because the amount of personal development, self-growth, and healing that can come from this can save people a lot of time trying to understand each other. When people understand themselves, then they don't seek to be understood by others. And I think that this book is a brilliant tool to actually help engagement, to improve communication, to create a different type of self leadership for people to actually delve into themselves and their own healing journey. And then for
Yes.
everything else, I mean, connect with Louise and find out more about her retreats and also the other books, the Hamster Wheel Relationships for Women and the one for men, and the summit that is still available online for you to go into. Go and look at all of the various podcasts, as well as all of the material and support structures that Louise put into place specifically for ongoing development. Healing is a continuous journey. And what I
Mm.
love is that this is a tiny part of the bigger picture for you. So if you're listening to this, share the link, share the gift of this book, share it with as many people as you can, because it seriously is life changing. And thank you
Yeah.
so much, Louise, for having me on your show.
No, it's my pleasure. Alfie, I just remembered. Yeah, you're right. Everything leads somewhere, and for me, it
Mhm.
is getting to the point of getting my signature program up and running in February, because this
Okay.
is what I've been doing in real life, and thanks to this last 2 crazy years, I'm now doing it online, and it's called Sort Your Shit, because this is the way in which to sort your shit definitively. That you are getting a deep understanding, you get community, and you get
Mhm.
accountability, and you get a lot of compassion, and you get all
Mhm.
the right tools and all the right questions in order for you to do deep healing. You cannot do deep healing with one book, a few sessions with a psychologist. You can do deep healing when you immerse yourself in a program and you are in it
Mhm.
long enough so that you can start acting completely differently. I'm very excited about it, and yes, all of it is healing from trauma to triumph, so it all is connected. Thank you so much for coming. Lots of love to you, always,
Thank you.
and appreciation. I'm going to share the book quickly here. Okay, so there's our book.
I just did. And let's share the link as well again.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so there's our book again, and the link is in several places in the chat and in the description. And share it, get it, recommend it. Nobody's going to be not affected in a positive way by it. So, and you know what? Arthur, let me also mention this. I know as you're not the only one who had to go through a process to write it. I've heard from several of the authors that they had to go through a process in order to write it. I had to go through a
Mhm.
process. This is not my first book. I've written a whole entire book on this subject, and with this one, um, my chapter, I've also pushed myself to another limit. So, yeah,
Mhm.
it's. I don't think you can write about this stuff without healing yourself one more step. Lots of love.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
everybody. Thank you
much.
for showing
Thank
up
you.
and for commenting. Keep on doing that. We'll come back and check back a bit on your comments. Lots of love, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.